Hello friends, welcome to the video number 14 for the JavaScript video tutorial series. And well, in this video we're gonna start talking about the basics of functions in JavaScript. And well, the first thing is, well, how do we make or create a function in JavaScript? Well, there is a reserved word or a keyword in JavaScript. If you can guess which one it is, well, it is actually function. So with this, we're telling JavaScript, okay, here we are going to define or create a function. And now we need to give it a name, and it's basically the same rules that we have been following for variables. So we can basically just start with a letter. We can use letters, numbers, underscores. I think you can actually use the $sign. But I will stay away from it, at least for now, for naming my functions and variables in JavaScript. Just stick to letters and numbers. If you want to use more than one word, remember you can use underscores, you can use camel casing. And well, in this case, we're gonna make a very simple function that is it's gonna calculate the area of the circle. So I'm gonna name it circle area, and then I'm gonna put parentheses and then curly braces. Let's call it, I don't know how you call it, but let's call this curly braces. Okay, now going back to the parentheses, what are these for? In this parentheses, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna be placing what is known as parameters for the function. In some cases, we're gonna need to pass, like in this case, for example, for the area of the circle, it's pi multiplied by the radius squared, right? Uh, so basically, what we need to do is pass the value of the radius of the circle. So that's what we're gonna be putting in here. Okay, what pieces of information my function is going to receive? It's gonna need to receive in order to do whatever its intention is. Well, now, sorry, another thing. Of course, the purpose of a function is to do something, right? I mean, to be functional, to evaluate or do something that is useful for my program, like in this case, evaluating the area of the circle. So here, I'm gonna put it as radio because, well, I was making just this example for the tutorial in Spanish, but it's basically the same, right? Radius, radio, and okay, this is the only parameter that I need to have for this function. Now, inside of the curly braces, what I'm gonna do, make some space in here, because now here what I'm gonna be doing is writing now the actual things that the function is gonna do, aka my statements. And in this case, in order for the function to give me back something, in this case the result of the calculation of the area of the circle, I need to use another keyword, which is return. So the function is going to return to me, and let's just make an approximation of 3.1416 times the radio of the circle times again the radio of the circle. And well, that's basically it. We have created our first function, which calculates the area of the circle. And well, now the only thing we need to do to use it, I mean, to make it actually useful, we need to use it. And to use it, we need to call it, or also known as invoke the function. And to invoke the function or to call it, the only thing we need to do is put the name of the function, circle area, and then the parentheses. This calling is actually a statement, so we need to end it with a semicolon. Sorry, I forgot to end this statement with a semicolon. Remember, semicolon are optional in JavaScript. We don't actually need to put it there, but it's uh, good to get used to use the semicolons to end any statement. The function is not a statement per se, let's say, so you don't need to put the semicolon. on the function, but on the statements it's again it's preferable to put it in there. And here, well, of course we know that we have a parameter. So well, here comes the discussion. Sometimes this is indistinctly called as parameters or arguments. uh, I think this is probably just technicalities if you are more professional in the programming business. If you are more like me, just like an amateur, or you do this for a hobby, I guess you can probably call it whatever you want. But let's say, okay, when you are defining your function, this is called the parameters of the function. And when you are calling or invoking your function, this is called the argument. So in this case, I'm going to pass an argument of 10. You can make it whatever units you want. And well, that's basically it. I'm calling my function. I'm giving it the argument for the radio parameter. If we save this and run it, what do you think is going to show Chrome? Well, of course, nothing. And why is that? Because I'm calling my function, but I didn't tell JavaScript to write it on the document. So let's make a document dot write. And now inside of the document dot write, I am calling my function and give it the argument. So let's go back to the oh, I closed it, and now I get my result. Okay. Now the good thing, or one of the good things about functions, is that imagine that you have to calculate the area of a circle many times in your program, so you have to write, well, in this case it's just probably just one single line of code. It's probably not a big deal, but in a more complex functions, you don't want to be writing again and again and again your code. So you can just write it once, and let's say encapsulate that code in a function, and then just call it as many times as you need. Very simple, as we did here. And well, let's just do, I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. So I'm gonna call it once with a radio of 5, again with a radio of 10, and again with a radio of 20. And let's see what I get. Well, I get my 3 results. So pretty simple. Now I'm gonna do it a little bit bigger, because now I'm showing here, this is the function for the area of a rectangle, and of course I need to know the base. Oh shoot. Well, this this is height in Spanish. I'm sorry, I didn't make the change, but well, this is the height. And well, the only difference here is that of course now we have a function that takes 2 different um, parameters, right? So I gotta pass it 2 different arguments. What happens if I just pass 1 argument instead of 2? Ah. Well, I get the first 2 are okay, but then I get an NaN. Just in case you don't remember what is this means not a number. It's telling me it's not a number. So I'm making a mistake in here because I am missing 1 argument. So now there it is, and I should be getting what, 800. There it is, 800. And well, let me get rid of all this. Another thing that we can do, for example, with functions, is that we can store the returning value in a variable. In this case, I'm declaring a variable that is called area, and then well, I'm just calling my function and passing it an argument of 10. And then well, I am going to just to display that, but a little bit better, the area. Crap. Okay, the area of the circle is, and then actually I'm gonna concatenate this with the value that is stored in this variable, which is of course the returning value of the function of the area of a circle with a radius of 10. So the area of the circle is the same thing that we saw before. And when one last thing, we can actually cut a little bit the middleman and get rid of that variable. Just cut this, and again, instead of using a variable, you can just call directly your function. In this case, for example, so the returning value is going to be concatenated with this string of text, and it's going to be displayed the same. Oh well, just to see a change, let's change this to 20. Go back, and there it is. Okay. So well, basically, I think that's all that I wanted to show to you. How to create a function using the function keyword, then give it a name. Remember, try to name your function something meaningful. Stick to letters and numbers. Start with a letter. You can use underscores or camel casing to separate I mean, if you are going to use two words or more, then between parentheses, put as many parameters as you need. You can, of course, have functions that doesn't require any kind of parameters, so just put empty parentheses, but the parentheses needs to be there. And then your curly braces, and in between of those curly braces, you are going to put how many statements you need. Remember to end your statements with a semicolon, and well, use this return keyword to get any information back from that function. And you can remember, just call it. We're gonna see how to activate these functions also with events when we get to events. And well, again, you can just call it directly or store the value in the returning value in a variable, and then use that variable to do whatever it is you need to do in your program. And well, I think that's pretty much about it. So as always, I hope that you have found this video useful. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please give it a like and share it with your friends. And well, I hope to see you on the next video.